Welcome to Michelle's Opinions. Today we're going to talk about the Illuminati, Gematria, the codes, ciphers, and meanings. Now let's start with some history. Let's start with some history on Gematria. Gematria is a system of assigning numerical value to a word or phrase, in the belief that the word or phrases with identical numerical values bear some relation to one another, or bear relation to the number itself, as it may apply to the person's age, calendar year, or the like. The word gematria is generally held to derive from the Greek geometry, which used a translation, though some scholars believe it to derive from the Greek grammatia. Rather, it is possible that both words had an influence on the formation of the Hebrew word. It has been in English since the 17th century, from translations of the works of Giovanni Pico della Mirandola. Although derived from Greek, it is largely used in Jewish texts, notably in those associated with the Kabbalah. The best known example of gematria is the Hebrew word chai, which means life, which is composed of two letters which add up to 18. This has made 18 a lucky number among Jews, and gifts in the multitude of $18 are very common among Jews. Some identify two forms of gematria: the revealed form, which is prevalent in many Hermetic methods found throughout rabbinic literature, and the mystical form, a largely Kabbalistic practice. Though gematria is most often used to calculate the values of individual words, Bible verses, for example, Talmudic sentences from the standard Jewish prayers, personal, angelic, and godly names, and other religious significant material, Kabbalists use them often for arbitrary phrases and occasionally for various languages. A few instances of gematria in Arabic, Spanish, and Greek, spelled with the Hebrew letters, are mentioned in the work of the rabbi. Some Hasidic rabbis also use it, though rarely for Yiddish. However, the primary language for gematria calculation has always been and remains Hebrew, and to the lesser degree, Aramaic. I'm showing you a graph using the English alphabet with a number code assigned to it. This is similar to what is done with the Hebrew alphabet, which consists of 22 letters, and how they assign it to a numeric value. The Hebrew gematria and the Jewish gematria, also known as Gematria, finding numerical relationships between words and phrases. Within the earliest Jewish traditions, a group of Jewish scholars counted the number of times each letter appeared in the scriptures, as well as the number of words, verses, paragraphs, etc. These textual specialists were called counters. They ensured that every Torah scroll were identical, noting any unusual words and spellings, and replicating them exactly through their scribal arts. Many of the Jews believed that Ezra, the scribe, instituted many of these practices of the Deciphering. In the medieval mystical text called the ciphers, the book of creation, the letters of the alphabet were described as the stones used to build a house. They are called the 22 letters of foundation. This doctrine highlights the belief in the essential relationship between the letters, words, and the creative process. Gematria is a type of a numerological study that may be defined as one of more systems for calculating the numerical equivalents of letters, words, and phrases, in particular Hebrew texts. These systems are used for the purpose of gaining insight into interrelating concepts and for finding correspondence between words and concepts. Although not identical, Gematria is also in the same orbit as the so-called Bible codes and the equidistance letter sequences, in brackets ELS, and bracket, that have become fashionable recently. According to most practitioners, there are several methods used to calculate numerical value for individual words and phrases. When converted to a number, words, phrases can then be compared to other words, phrases, and similarities drawn. Now let's look into deciphering code. As we know that there are hidden meanings as they're finding in the Bible codes, among many other things going on, we're going to look at just some simple ways of deciphering code. Since we've already touched on what the numeric values are for each letter, the hard part is already out of the way. Ever since the human race developed language, we've used codes and deciphers to obscure our messages. The Greeks and Egyptians used codes to transfer private communication, forming the foundation of modern code breaking. The study of codes and how to break them. It's a world of secrecy and subterfuge. It can be a whole lot of fun. If you want to crack codes, you can learn to recognize the most common codes and get started. As we have shown, the codes that are used in Bible codes to find the hidden mysteries there are many different ways of making ciphers for your own codes to, find hidden messages and underlining meanings in many things around the world. As I'm showing in my background is a code that is very simple, and once you've got the numbers, you can easily decipher the code. Sorry, this is take 2. I already have it typed in. My dog started barking, so I'm showing you a Gematria calculator where I typed in "be careful of the ice in Colorado," because of course it's winter and it's snowing now. In the Jewish Gematria, it equals 815. In English Gematria, it equals 1500. In simple Gematria, it equals 250. Now, rarely will you be able to find one that lines up in all three categories simultaneously. Well, we have one right here, and it says, consider a landscape architect. There's one. There's actually another one on here too I want to show you. 1500, where are you? Oh, here's another one. Great, brilliant math teacher. Oh, this one's highlighted. It says record Gematria prediction. What? So I will link this also in the show more notes, so you will be able to use these tools for yourself. Once you've put in your sentence, or whatever it is that you are trying to decode, you will come up with a numeric value. When you get that numeric value, you can insert it here on this website, and it'll actually give you what the code means. So let's put in 321, and let's see what it calculates. Oh my goodness. 321, flat earth, $, in the beginning, Manhattan bathroom. These are just a few of the different things that come up with the code of 321. And that I just made up from, thought. But if we take 3 plus 2 plus 1 and we get 6, let's see what we get with that. We get ABBA, ABC, and different meanings there. I will link this for you guys to be able to use the Gematria calculator, because when using the Bible codes or the Hebrew with that type of Gematria, this is the tool, the Gematria calculator, that will help you come up with what it is that you are decoding. We've been talking about the Hebrew into the English, the Aramaic, and all of those different ciphers that are in place that help to find Bible codes and Torah codes and hidden meanings that are there in plain sight if we understand the code in order to find the underlying meaning of what is being presented to us. Now I want to get into some ways that we can come up with code or find code in everyday things that are messages in plain sight that we may not be aware that are actually there, and some things to look for. So it's 13 ways of making code and breaking code. I'm going to go through these 13 ways of breaking down or making our own ciphers. Number 1, start looking for single letter words in the message. Most using a relatively simple substitution method is the most easily cracked by doing a simple plug and chug. Figure out what letters one by one and patiently figuring out the code based on guesses. Single letter words in English will be I or A, and you should be able to plug in one looking for patterns and like playing hangman. If you look at it, you'll get it solved. You know, it would be most regular be R or and. Guess and check. It doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then go back and try other options. Be patient and go slowly. The second thing is look for the most frequent symbols or letters. The most common letters used in the English letter is E, followed by T and A. As you are working, use your familiarity with common words and sentence structure to start making logical guesses. You rarely feel sure but the code-breaking game is played by making logical choices and going back and correcting your mistakes. Watch for double symbols and short words and start solving those first. It's easier to try to make an educated guess at, an, or, in, or, at than highway. Number 3, look for letters after apostrophes. If the message includes punctuation, you're in luck. This offers a whole host of other hints that you can learn to recognize. Apostrophes will almost always be followed by an S, a T, a D, an M, or double L, or RE, AR, or BT. So, if you've got 2 identical symbols after an apostrophe, you've solved it for L or D. Number 4, try to determine what kind of code you have found. If, as you have solved it, you think you recognize it as one of the common code types from the above, you've cracked it and can stop your plug and chug and fill in the message based on your code, your cipher. It probably won't happen often, but the more familiar you become with common codes, it's more likely that you'll be able to recognize the sort of code used, and it will be easy for you to solve it. And that was, with creating your own cipher is an amazing way to, find codes and hidden messages. Learn to recognize the situation in the ciphers. Basically, a substitution cipher involves substituting one letter for another according to the same predetermined rule. This is a rule in this code. Learning it and applying it, the rule is a way to break the code and read the message. Number 4, keep an eye on the keyboard patterns. Keyboard situations use the pattern of a traditional American query keyboard pattern. To use those substitutions generally by shifting the letters up, down, left, right by a certain number of paces. By shifting letters in a particular direction on the keyboard, you can create simple codes. Knowing the direction the shift allows you to correct the code. Number 5, see if you've got a polyalphabetic cipher. It's in basic substitution ciphers, the writer of the code creates one alternate alphabet to create the coded message. Starting at some point after the Middle Ages, these kind of codes became too easy to crack, and cipher writers began using various methods to use multiple alphabets within single code, making the codes much more difficult to crack without knowing the method. You remember, what was that, the Da Vinci Code, when they had the cipher and they had to crack the code? Okay. Being a code breaker, you have to be patient, write your own codes, and try your hand at the famous unsolved codes. Enjoy the challenge and the mystery. So in conclusion, when we're talking about Gematria, Bible codes, and all these fascinating topics, that there are these underlining secrets, these puzzles for us to figure out. I'm supplying you with a couple of tools so that way you can look into this for yourself. But it's always best to write your own codes as you're able to read into things and decipher them for yourself. There's hidden meanings in so many things around us, straight out in the open for all to see. And then we won't worry about the Illuminati, because we will be the Illuminati, because we are the Illuminati. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And guys, always share what you know so we can all listen and grow. I love you all so much. Have yourself a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.